The CT4 is Cadillac's compact executive sedan. It replaces what used to be the ATS and slots below the CT5, which the ATS was one of my favorite Cadillacs, especially that ATS V coupe. Now the CT4 is no longer available in a coupe. It's just a sedan, which saddens me a bit, but you can still get it in the V trim. So needless to say, I was really excited to get one of these into review. So let's jump into it, starting off with the trims offered here with the CT4. So the CT4 comes in 4 different trim levels. You have the luxury, the premium luxury, a sport, and the V series. This one here is the premium luxury, which doesn't mean it's not sporty, and I'll prove that to you as we get in and drive it. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at the exterior design. All right, and first off, the exterior color here is Shadow Metallic. It's a darker gray. It definitely looks a lot darker in person than it does online or on the color picker for the configurator. I think it looks pretty good, but I would personally get this thing in all black or all white. You definitely see the influence of Cadillac's new design in this thing, and I think it looks really good. We have those new vertical daytime running lights with the LED headlights, and the Cadillac grille with a huge crest there in the middle. We have a chrome strip at the bottom of the grille with a gloss black strip at the top, some nice air intakes at the bottom, and some fake vents on the side. All in all, an aggressive looking design. On the side of the vehicle, we do have 18-inch alloy wheels here, and these are the sterling silver finish wheels, and it is running Continental all-season tires. You can also see that our door handles there have the chrome finishing on them. We've got the chrome finishing around the cabin. The side mirrors are body colored with integrated turn signals, and they are not power folding, which bugs me a bit. I really like power folding mirrors, especially in luxury vehicles. But you do get a nice lighting system. You get proximity lighting, so as you approach the vehicle at night, everything will light up, which is pretty cool. You do get a keyless entry system with a button here on the door, so there's no like grab to open. You have to push the button to lock it and push the button to unlock it. And if you're on the driver's side, you push it once, it will unlock the driver's side. You push it twice, it will unlock all the doors. But on the other doors, if you just push it once, it will unlock everything. And there is one on both the front and rear doors. Moving even further back, you do get a capless fuel system, so you don't have to take off a cap when you're putting in gas. It does take premium gas, which, of course, with gas prices today, is a bit of a bummer, but it is a premium vehicle. Around the back, we got the vertical LED tail lights. You have 2 large chrome exhaust ports, which are just integrated into the bumper and not the actual exhaust tips themselves. You can see that CT4 badge, the Cadillac crest there, and the 500T badge. Now, I'm an automotive reviewer. I drive a lot of vehicles. I try to keep up with as much news as possible on all of these vehicles. I remember looking up what these numbers on the back of the new Cadillacs mean. I did forget, so I spent a lot of time trying to figure out what this 500T meant. If you look on Cadillac's website, it does not say anything about 500T. If you look on the media website, it doesn't say anything about the 500T. If you look on Wikipedia, it doesn't tell you anything about the 500T. So I'll go ahead and rant really quickly about what this 500T means. So the T is pretty easy. It signifies that this is a turbocharged engine. If it has a D, it's a diesel engine. But the 500 does not signify anything about the displacement of the engine. It doesn't signify the horsepower of the engine. It actually signifies the torque of the engine. But here in the US, Cadillac is a US brand. We measure torque by pound-feet of torque. This is actually Newton meters of torque, and doesn't necessarily mean that this has 500 Newton meters of torque either. They round up to the nearest 50. So you can get a CT4 that is a 450T, or you can get the CT4 at a 500T, and that means that it has around 500 Newton meters of torque. Rounded up, of course. And then all of this gets broken when you get the V series and it will just have the V badge there instead of any number at all. And this isn't just on the CT4, it's across all of the vehicles that Cadillac sells today. So the Escalade, the CT5, everything has this signifier on it now. I think it's kind of stupid, but what are you gonna do? It's there, and it's just Cadillac proving that they really wish they were a German company instead of an American company. Let's keep going by looking in the trunk instead of on the trunk, and check out that cargo volume that you get inside. So popping the trunk, you can pop it from a key. There's a button inside to push, or you can push a button down here. And you do get 10.7 cubic feet of cargo space in this trunk. That might sound small, but this is a really good sized trunk for a compact sedan. We fit chairs in here, all of our camera equipment in here, all kinds of stuff, groceries, and still had plenty of room. It is a really good sized trunk. Speaking of size, let's talk about the full dimensions of this compact vehicle, and then we'll move to the front and talk about the engine before we jump inside, take a look around, take it for a drive, and we'll keep the review going. All right, and like I've mentioned, this is a compact sedan. The full length here is 187.2 inches. Wheelbase is 109.3 inches. The full height of the vehicle is 56 inches, and width is 77.7 inches. All right, let's talk about the engine. Let's pop that hood. So there are two engine options, and before we get into the specifics of this one, let's talk about the other engine option, which is a 2-liter twin scroll turbo engine, which is matched up to an 8-speed automatic transmission and is available in both rear wheel and all-wheel drive. What we have here is a 2.7-liter turbocharged engine, the same engine that you get in the V. This one has 310 horsepower, 350 foot-pounds of torque. If you do get the V, it pushes 325 horsepower and 380 foot-pounds of torque. So a little bit of a bump for getting the V, but not much, so that's actually really good. 0 to 60 can be done in about 4.8 seconds, which we'll test when we get it out on the road. It is also matched up to a 10-speed automatic transmission, and is also available in both rear-wheel drive or all-wheel drive. It is a rear-wheel drive architecture, and the one we have here is rear-wheel drive, which again, we will look at as we take it for a drive. But before we can do that, we've got to jump inside, take a look at the interior, take a look at the tech, and then we'll get going. So let's keep going. All right, so the interior here is Whisper Beige with black accents. There are, I think, about 4 different interior combos here, and they all look really good. I probably wouldn't pick this one with the Whisper Beige. I like darker materials in my interior, but it looks nice and it's held up pretty well with the family. Speaking of the family, the rear seats are on the smaller side. This is a compact sedan, but we did have the kids in here plenty of times doing some serious driving. 3 wide in the back. No huge issues, but it wasn't their first choice. They can fit, but whenever you drive a full-size 3-row SUV on the normal, they'll complain about these back seats. Adult-wise, I can fit back here behind the passenger side seat just fine. My driving position and me trying to fit behind me is pretty tight, but I'm 6'1", so take that for what you will, I guess. Let me kick on this vehicle. It is a push-button start. We'll kick it on, and we'll check out some of the tech and look around the interior here. So let's keep moving. All right, let's start off with the center infotainment system. It does have Cadillac's user experience with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto integrations. The screen is on the smaller side for luxury vehicles, but for this size of vehicle, it's fine. It is touchscreen and you can reach it just fine. You also have extra controls down here in the console, which we'll get to in just a second. We do have the Bose Premium Surround Sound 14 speaker audio system, and it does sound really good. We can take a listen really quickly. was just a quick listen to what the Bose system sounds like, all coming from a lav mic. So again, take that for what you will. Let's keep going. Obviously, like I said, we do have Apple CarPlay. It is wireless Apple CarPlay, so I got my phone here completely unhooked. We also have a wireless charging system, so you can put it down here in the tray. It will wirelessly charge and wirelessly play. Very cool. Moving one step down here, I'm going to talk about this little quirk that bugs me a little bit. It might not bug anybody else, but there is a volume control here with a power on and off button, and another dial here for interfacing with the system or changing songs or whatever. But you have a volume control here, you have a volume control down here, and you have a volume control here on the steering wheel. To me, that's just too much. I would take these dials off completely and just let this be the only volume and power and interface controls over here. I understand this might be easier to use for a passenger than this one, but to me it breaks up this nice symmetrical interface and is just too many redundant buttons. Okay, rant over there, let's continue. So further down you do have your AC and heat controls here. Everything laid out really nicely. Further down from that, these seats are heated and cooled, so we have heated options and cooled options here. We have our parking sensors, our lane keep warning system, and then obviously your heated and cooled seats for the passenger. Here's that tray for your phone, like I already showed. Moving back further is your electronic gear shifter. So it's not a traditional shifter, it is all electronic. There's a button on the side, you pull back to put it into drive, push forward to put it into reverse, push the button here to put it into park. Putting it into reverse, you can see we do have a backup camera here, no 360 camera, just a backup camera, but we do have the guidelines as you turn the wheel, which is always nice. You can also see if you pull it back a second time, you can switch between regular drive and manual shifting drive. And we do have paddle shifters on the steering wheel, which we'll look at in just a second. Here's the rest of the controls for your infotainment system interface. Obviously a dial here, quick access buttons, your volume control, and switching songs. Further back you have a button to turn off the automatic start stop. You have an auto hold button. You can turn the traction control on and off, and you can change your driving modes, which we'll take a look at as we get driving. And of course, some small cup holders up here with nice textured trim here. Overall materials look really good, although you can tell it is cheaper materials than you would get in, say, the bigger sedans or the Escalade. Back even further is a console that only swings open from the driver's side. You have your USB Type-C port and USB Type-A port here, as well as an auxiliary power connector. And it's a decent size here for some junk. Padding is nice on here, and it goes nice and far up so that you do have good rest as you're shifting gears or just having your arm rest here. It's a nice full console. Moving to the steering wheel, it is leather. We've got perforated leather here. You've got button controls, including a heated steering wheel button, buttons for your cruise control, buttons for your audio system. We've got those paddle shifters that I mentioned earlier. They are metal and not plastic, which is nice. And behind the steering wheel is your 12-inch fully digital instrument cluster. It's also programmable, so you can change the way that it looks. You can scroll through different features here, and you can choose what you want to see on the other screen by changing it here. Definitely a really nice setup. I like it a lot. We also have a head-up display, which isn't the best quality head-up display. It does function just fine. You can adjust the brightness and where it's positioned and what info is shown on it. But again, the screen isn't the best quality. You can definitely see a blue tint behind it sometimes. But for the most part, it's just there and works. Finally, here on the doors, you can see we do have memory seats. We've got that Bose audio system here. All the controls that you would expect. Popping your trunk over here. Your head-up display functions. Your electronic parking brake, which will automatically engage if you park on a hill. and will automatically disengage if you put it into drive or reverse and hit the gas hard enough. But I think that's enough with taking a look around the vehicle. Let's go ahead and get it into gear and take this thing for a drive. So this is a luxury Cadillac and it should ride well. So let's first start off talking about how it rides. Of course, we do have Cadillac's magnetic ride suspension, which means it reads the road 1,000 times per second to give you the best riding conditions possible. And it works. It's worked for a long time. This has always been a really great feature of Cadillacs. And of course, despite this being the lower end Cadillac, it works no different than any other. This is a really smooth and easygoing ride. Now we do have different drive modes. Obviously, we're in comfort mode, which gives you the most comfort possible. We also have sport mode, which does stiffen that suspension a bit more, makes cornering feel better, makes the throttle response that much quicker, sounds better. We'll get into that in just a second. Your other drive mode is snow and ice. This obviously affects the torque. This isn't the all-wheel drive version, so you're not getting any all-wheel driveness with that. You're just getting an effective torque curve so that you're not spinning out on the ice. We also have a My mode, which is just individual settings that you would like to put for that, so you can kind of configure exactly how you want that suspension and everything to be set up. And then we go back into tour mode or comfort mode, which is better for long distance, comfortable driving. We also do have some safety features like radar guided cruise control and lane warning. So I can set the cruise control to a speed and to a distance from the car in front of me, and it will maintain that speed and distance. And if I veer out of the lanes, it will warn me about it, but it will not correct me. Cadillac does have a new driving assist feature they call Super Cruise. This is not equipped with that, but it is a lane keeping feature that will keep you in the lanes, will guide you based on the car in front of you and everything. It's a much more sophisticated system. I haven't tested it out in any Cadillac, but this one is not equipped with it either. One of the dead giveaways, if it was equipped, is it would have a light bar here on the steering wheel that helps indicate different things with that system. That being said, in this car, if you're doing a lot of road trips, it could be good, but for day-to-day driving, I would just go without it. So with this setup with the 2.7 liter turbocharged engine, we do get a 0 to 60 time of 4.8 seconds. So we're going to find a road off the beaten path, straight enough to do a bit of an acceleration test. Put that number into a little bit of perspective. Of course, as you can probably see, it has been raining a lot. The roads are pretty wet. But that's not going to stop us from testing this thing out. We are going to put it into sport mode, and not only does the steering get a little bit tighter, the suspension gets a little bit tighter, the exhaust sounds a little bit better. You'll hear that as we really push this car. So here we are coming up on this straight road. Let's come to a stop. Again, we are in sport mode. Dead stop, ready, set, go. Hammer down, a little bit of tire squeal, a little bit all over the place, and 60. Yeah, traction control helped me out a lot there, but it was a pretty quick 0 to 60. And again, that engine note just sounds really good. These wet roads can really make it squirrely, but that traction control definitely comes into play and helps out there. But this definitely has enough power to be a lot of fun, even though it's not the V. You can hear that downshift, rev matching downshift in sport mode. It's probably way too much fun to be having out here in these wet roads. Now, what about braking? You can't have a fast car without good braking. So again, going about 50 miles an hour right now. Let's hit that brake on the straight. Yeah, it's got good braking. It's not just about the straight line braking, but definitely stopped well there. So you can brake, turn into corners, power yourself out, kind of nice. It's definitely an aggressive ride in sport mode. Much different than just the tour mode. So we can do a quick little circuit run on what's left of our circuit here, just to get a thorough enough test of this engine and this setup here. We are still in sport mode. I just pushed it into manual shift mode, which of course means we're going to be shifting manually. So again, we got some wet roads. We're not going to push it too hard here, but let's see what we got. Good brakes, turn in, power out, slide a little bit, shift, brake, shift down. It can be a handful in the wet, but it's a lot of fun. All right, let's take it out of sport, put it back in touring. We'll find a place to pull back over, and we'll talk about the price, competition, some final thoughts, and we'll wrap the video up there. All right, before we wrap this review up, let's quickly talk about the price and competition with this vehicle. So you can get the base luxury trim at $33,395. The base premium luxury, which is what we're in here, is $37,595. Our vehicle that you're seeing with all the options that we have has an MSRP of $47,365. If you're really interested in the CT4V, that base is at $44,895. So it's not that big of a jump to get into the V. Again, it's the same engine, just more horsepower. So if you're looking for a luxury vehicle, I think the premium luxury is a great option, because if you want to have fun, you can still. If you're looking for a fun vehicle, that V is going to give it to you. You might sacrifice a little bit in luxury, but not much. Personally, I would probably be looking at the V, and I hope to give one a test drive at some point soon. We'll just have to see if Cadillac can get me one. If you're interested in seeing a full review on that, leave it down in the comments and I'll bug Cadillac to get me one for sure. So let's quickly talk about the competition out there. You have the Infiniti Q50, which is a competent, sporty, luxurious sedan. I've got plenty of reviews out on that vehicle if you want to check those out. My biggest gripes there is some of the technology, but that Red Sport 400 is a really great value. The Jaguar XE kind of compares with this, but is no longer being sold. The Alfa Romeo Giulia compares with this. That thing is a really amazing sedan, but I have heard a lot of issues with the vehicle. It is an Alfa Romeo. This does compare with the BMW 3 Series and Audi A4, and I think that the closest comparison with this vehicle is that 3 Series. I really feel like Cadillac wishes it was a German company. A lot of things about this feel very German. It feels like you're driving a BMW from a couple of years ago, especially when you put it into that sport mode and really push this thing, and that's not at all a bad thing. You could also look at the Volvo S60. I haven't really had any seat time with that, so we'll skip over. The Acura TLX, that's a great value, but not quite as luxurious as this vehicle. The Lexus IS, which I've also got plenty of reviews out on if you want to check those out. And the new Genesis G70, which I haven't driven the G70, but I have reviewed the G80. I've been a fan of the Genesis brand even before it was a brand. So that's definitely one I'd love to get into and compare with this. But with that said, let's jump back out. I'll give you some of my final thoughts and we'll finally wrap this video up. All right, guys, so let's talk about some final thoughts here. What do I think about the CT4? I started this review talking about the ATS, which was one of my favorite Cadillacs, and that's no joke. I really did love the ATS more than the CTS, more than the CTS wagon, which I did like. So did the CT4 stand up to that? Did it meet my expectations? Yes, absolutely it did, especially with this 2.7 liter engine. Even though we don't have the V, this thing puts out some good horsepower for the size of vehicle. Everything that Cadillac has been doing to what I consider Germanizing the car, making it more tight, a better drive, while keeping its luxury feel, has been spot on. I really wish they still made the coupe version of it, but they don't. And I'm sure there's tons of market research as to why, but I would like the coupe version of this. I'm excited to drive the V version and see just how much better it feels, if at all. Like I said, I would probably go with the V. It's not that much more money. You get a little bit more horsepower, but some more sporty and aggressive looks, which I would like. Stacked up to the competition, obviously the BMWs are just as good, but they're gonna cost you a lot more money. And if you wanna show some American pride at all, buying a Cadillac is a bit of a statement in this segment. So I definitely recommend it if you're looking for one. If you're just shopping in the segment and wondering if this can stack up with the other vehicles, it definitely can, definitely worth a test drive. But with that, that is the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed it, please hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think about the CT4. If you're not already, go check out TXGARAGE.com. We've got a lot of written reviews there from a lot of different contributors, a lot of great reviews, news, and event coverage. We also have a weekly newsletter that you can sign up for. If you want to keep in touch with what's going on without going to the website every day, I would definitely recommend that. But with that, I hope you did enjoy. Thanks for watching.